This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to a very dark start to the sunrise safari. Let me put my spotlight down because it's rude to divide my attention as such. My name is Jamie. This morning, Senzo is on camera with me once again. It's been ages, Senz. You've been avoiding me.
No.
Am I smelly?
No,
It's a scheduling. He's not avoiding me. It's not because it's... Well, I suppose we're all a bit smelly at the moment. It's been very warm. Welcome to your live safari experience. If you have just joined, I apologize for that introduction. We are live from Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. And it feels like the slow descent into winter. Well, it doesn't. It's very dark. It's the darkest it's been in a long time, which is why we're in black and white. We are still using infrared. We have been out since 4, well, a little bit before 4 actually, searching for animals. Seb's been up in the drone, and what you can do is you can send through questions on hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, alternatively in the comments section of YouTube. We are now making our way towards Buffelshoek Dam because Tristan tells me that he saw something wandering about there, not large enough to be a leopard or a lion, but definitely something that didn't move like an antelope. So for those of you for whom that is complete gibberish, the drone that we use is a thermal drone, which allows us obviously to pick up on the heat signatures of animals. Luckily it's nice and, well, I wouldn't say cool, but it's not over 100 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, which means that it works with slightly more efficiency. So they've picked up on something, so we're going to go check it out. And we will later be joined by Sydney, or he should be out shortly, and of course Tristan on walk as well once it's light enough. It's a little bit dark to be wandering around the bush on foot. So there you have it. Oh, very upset Franklin, just ran into the road. All right, I mentioned a lot of names there. It's time to introduce you to one of them. His name is Sydney. He's out and about. I wonder what his plans are.
What a great morning. The weather is nice and overcast here by the western side of Kruger National Park Services in South Africa. This is Sydney Fumurani Mikosi, and most of all, good morning again and welcome to the beginning of the morning safari. I am traveling with Craig, who is my camera operator this morning, and you can talk to us by following us on Twitter, hashtag SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. My plan this morning is to go and see if we can find some lions. I heard them calling last night. So I haven't picked up any tracks yet. The only tracks I'm seeing on the ground here is the elephants. So the elephants has been everywhere last night. So it's not that very clear at the moment. It is still a little bit dark. Mishka, it is summer right now here in South Africa. This is our rainy season. The bush is now starting to get very green and there is quite a lot of water everywhere. It does get very hot during the day. So the bush is hiding away the animals during the day, whereas at the same time, the sun is also discouraging the animals to move around. That is quite a very interesting question. In Venda, good morning is Ndi Macheroni Abudi. So you can just shorten it and say Ndi macheroni. Ndi macheroni is like morning. Good morning. Ndi macheroni avudi. So the interesting part of our greeting is Ndawuyanduna. So the interesting part of our greeting is Ndawuyanduna. Ndawuyanduna is an expression which means a male lion. So you will hear a lot of vendors, specifically men, they greet each other like Nda. Nda, they are just shortening it from Ndawuyanduna. How we greet each other every morning, afternoon we say a male lion. So Ndawuyanduna, a male lion. And then the other one is going to reply then saying Nda or Ndawuyanduna, again same back. So the lions are much more associated with our greetings. So we praise them every day. So there's not much of hyena tracks here on this road where I am, because normally by this time of the morning, the first track you see on the ground is the hyenas. I wonder where these hyenas are. Maybe they are having something to eat somewhere, or they were concentrating much more towards the other areas. So now let's go back to Jamie, who is also out on a search for the cats.
It's that awkward time of morning where one's eyes aren't quite ready for picking out individual shapes. Everything's a sort of a flat grey. Obviously it's not. Obviously I can see colour now, but it's not very distinctive. It's that in-between stage of night and dark where using my spotlight would be completely useless, because all I would do is be illuminating the bushes. And I can't see 100% clearly with my eyes. It is just one of those mornings, and because it's so cloudy, it's taking quite a long time to shift between the two. We'll get there. I know I bring this up a lot, but it's still, every time I talk about the morning light, I always think about that one viewer who unfortunately never joined us again, as far as I know, who said they'd caught us out. They'd caught us out and that we were not live, because when we started it was dark and then it became light. And therefore, they had somehow noticed something that no one else had. I had to explain that in Africa we also have mornings. Now, Jessica, you want to know if we've had any luck finding the hyena den. Oh dear. Jessica's obviously not been watching for a little while. Yeah, we know where it is. You're not going to like this, Jess. It is on Little Gowrie, which is a property to the south of us that we do not drive on. So, yeah. I think that's the one you're referring to, obviously. I know Tristan spoke yesterday about the fact that he spoke to me about it, that on Sunday evening he found a hyena that was lactating heavily on Torchwood, that he believes has a den somewhere on there, which would be wonderful for us, start to get to know a new clan, maybe? Or maybe our clan. We don't really know exactly where their boundary is there. And then there's also the fact that June was seen with lactation. She was seen with lactating. She was... Try that sentence all again. It was early, I'm sorry. She was seen to be lactating, and there's a good chance that her natal den is on Djuma, but we haven't managed to find it. It would require actually seeing June physically and somehow following her back, or just getting really lucky. I've checked all the old dens. She's not using them. So wherever she is in her little natal den, she is not... She's not at the old dens, basically. I had a moment as I was driving because I saw that piece of bark lying on the ground, and I was quite convinced that that was something exciting. It really looked like a cat or something like that. But never mind. It's not. It's a log. All right. Good morning, Buffelshoek Dam. Scuba Steve is absent. Snorkel Sarah's absent. Everything's absent. It's dead quiet. So Tristan was saying to me that on the northern side of Buffelshoek Dam, which is here, there was something on the northern side of this little rise. But it's taken me so long to do so that I haven't managed to actually, I think it's probably long gone. All right, we're going to switch to color. It is now enough daytime for you to admire the view not in black and white. There you have it. Voila. It's like magic, isn't it? It's our magic trick for the morning. Some people pull rabbits out of hats. We go from black and white to color. Lovely sounds. I'm going to be quiet and you can listen. Sarah, good morning to you. Over this overpowering sound of the Cape turtle doves, or what are they called now, ringneck doves. Sarah wants to know who snorkel... Wait, was it Sarah? Did I just make that up? Did I just mix up the name of the hippo and the person who asked the question, or was it actually Sarah? I'm not sure. It was Sarah. Okay, cool. Snorkels... So Sarah wants to know who Snorkel Sarah is. Usually a morning person. I don't know why my brain's not firing up this morning. I don't know. It's often Scuba Steve is seen around Buffelshoek Dam. I've heard him being called Snorkel Steve as well, but really I prefer Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah. I feel that gives them the respect they each deserve, so that Snorkel Sarah's identity is not attached to that of Scuba Steve, for she is her own independent woman / hippopotamus. Snorkel Sarah is a hippopotamus who is sometimes in the company of Scuba Steve, who is also a hippopotamus. Whether or not Snorkel Sarah is the same individual each time is really truly questionable, but we haven't asked Scuba Steve on the basis that we feel it's a little bit rude to question him about his various romantic entanglements and that he might take offense. So Snorkel Sarah is the generic name given to any female hippopotamus who happens to be in Buffelshoek Dam with Scuba Steve at the time. Try saying that sentence first thing in the morning and see if you get that right. I think I deserve a round of applause for that. But Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah are not here, Sarah. Sarah, you say that you love it. I'm glad. I had a very brief moment where I thought I'd got very confused, but I didn't. So there you go, Sarah. That is Snorkel Sarah. I don't know if I actually made that name up or if somebody else did. I think I must have heard it somewhere. I don't think it was my idea. The Snorkels, oh goodness, I messed it up. Scuba Steve definitely wasn't me. That started long before I came back from the Mara. And I think Snorkel Sarah was someone else, but I don't know who. Well, this has been exciting. Shall we move on? I think so. Just adjusting my booster seat, for I'm too short to see over the end of the car without one. I'm still slightly too short. That's okay. Alrighty, so last night there were lions roaring. The lions were roaring around about Buffelshoek cut line. So we'll go have a look. They walked right past the camp that we live in last night. Michael, you want to know why moving to a different topic entirely, back in time, you want to know why it is that the hyenas have lost interest in the old dens. It's really hard to say, even to confirm if they have. You know, there's also a possibility that they've been using that little Gowrie den in the past. At those times that they've disappeared, admittedly, we did manage to clarify that they'd gone up to the north, but nothing's to say that they didn't at some time spend time in that den to the south, and we just didn't realize, and the guides to the south didn't realize that they were our hyenas, or indeed care to share. So, you know, there's that possibility. As to why, they used Aubrey's Road, and they used Philemon's cut line. Gallagher shortcut, as I've told you, is largely collapsed in on itself. It's not, they could reuse it, they could excavate it open again, but that requires a great deal of energy. And Mvubu, I'm not sure. And I could say also, like it could be to do with the number of lions moving through Djuma, the number of male lions moving through Djuma. Perhaps, actually, you know what, there is a possibility that that's why they're not using Mvubu, because the evokers use that pathway that runs straight past that Mvubu Road hyena den almost all the time. It's ridiculous, actually, how often they do use it. It is their main thoroughfare from one side, from the southern side of Djuma to Buffelshoek. So perhaps that's why they haven't used that den. I mean, how many times have I said to you in the last few months that we're walking this path down? Maybe that's what it is. It's possible. Maybe they just don't love us anymore, Michael. I'm joking. They don't love us at all. But I do feel somewhat deserted, I have to tell you. I'm going the wrong way. I was going to go that way. Okay, I'm going to turn around and go the way I intended to go in the first place. Let's go across to Sydney, who apparently is looking for lions as well.
I am now going to check the areas which covers Chitwa and Cheetah Cat Line. As here, I am not seeing any tracks, but here is where the big roar, the sound was coming from last night. So the sound was coming from this direction. The lion, the roar can travel very far. You can hear, some can hear them at a distance of about approximately 10 kilometers. So that is far. And when it's quiet, it sounds very close. So that is something good about the lions. So the lions, they're very much vocal in the wild here. Call 6, that is quite a lovely question. The dung beetles, sometimes we see them at night as well. So most of the insects, they wake up early. Dung beetles, they also fly when it's overcast. But a weather like this is not good for the dung beetles. Why I'm saying this? Because dung beetles, for them to fly properly, the sun must have to be on the side of the wing. So when the sun is on the side of the wing, they can be able to navigate properly. But when the weather is overcast, they cannot fly nicely. And when the sun is at the horizons, they don't fly properly. So late afternoon and early mornings, when the sun is coming out, they experience problems. So, but by this time of the morning, already dung beetles are out. But when considering the insects as a whole, most of the insects, for example, the locust, when the weather is cold in the morning, they are not active. They wait until the sun comes out, and that is when they are going to be able to fly. In the morning, you can just go and catch them easily. They just walk. And sometimes you find them like frozen, just on the sticks by the trees like this, no movement. Then they are only more active when the sun comes out. So dung beetles already by this time, they're up. But you can see them during the day, night, and early mornings. I'm just trying to check if there are tracks here, but still it's very much quiet. It's not like we are looking just for the lions in the area. This is a game reserve. We might find something else while looking for these lions. So it's just that on top of our list, we've got the lions. Becky, I'm going to answer your question broadly. In South Africa is so very much diverse in terms of different cultures and different traditions and different languages. So I come from one of the 9 provinces consisting South Africa as a country. And in these provinces, Limpopo, which is further north, is one of the provinces which has got quite a lot of different tribes. So in my province, we speak Chivenda, which is the language I speak. We speak Shangaan. We speak also Sepedi. We speak Setswana. We speak Sesotho. You will also find people who speak English and Afrikaans. So it's about 7 different languages, same province. Before going to the other provinces where you are going to find other people speaking Zulu and other people speaking Xhosa and other people speaking Ndebele. So South Africa has got quite a lot of different languages. And some of these languages are closely related and some they are not. So now let's go to the beginning of the bushwalk.
Indeed, it is the beginning, the very start of our morning's walk. I am out and about and hopefully going to have a good one. It's nice and cool this morning, which is good, so it shouldn't be too taxing. But the good news is I'm feeling a lot better about it, so we should be fine. My name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Jandre this morning. Jandre, careful. Jandre almost put his thumb past the camera lens and we almost missed all of it. He's shaking his head at me as he's saying no, but it's true. You You wanted the thumb to be on the right. Okay, fair enough. So basically, exactly, that's Kirsty saying genre on camera again, it's going to snow. Kirsty, that's why we have this weather. This is the beginning of the snow. The dark clouds have rolled in and the snow is coming. But basically our plan for the morning is that I was out on the drone kind of mission this morning, and we flew over and we found a lot of things like ellies that were around, but generally very far to the south, which we're probably not going to be able to get to. But there was some guinea fowl that were alarm calling that some of you let us know about on the dam cam, which is always quite nice. So if those of you that do want to interact, remember #SafariLive on Twitter. And for those of you that did let us know, thank you very much. And there's also been a few birds been shouting. So what we're going to do is we're going to head slowly down towards the dam. And I think we'll just jump into the Mulwati behind the dam wall, and then we're going to just kind of track along sort of twin dams, running parallel with twin dams, and then we're going to get to, hopefully, kind of pop up and then come up and north, and maybe we'll catch some of those ellies. It's also going to be a good day for a lot of insects, being a little bit cooler this morning than what it's been over the past few weeks. You might find some of the insects will be a little bit more kind of static, if that's the word for it, less active and not kind of bouncing around all over the place. So it should be a good day for those kind of things, and hopefully we'll get lucky with something interesting. Tomcats, what do we do if a guide gets lost? It's unfortunately a common problem out here, is that there's some guides that are absent-minded and just don't know where to go and can't find their way home, so we just leave them, really. It's far more fun to watch them flounder and see how they get home. It's like a survival test, really, is once you're lost you must just go and try and find your way back, and if you can, well, then we keep you, and if not, we just don't ever talk about it ever again and they just disappear. So the thing is that there is very, 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 very hard to get lost out here for two reasons. Exactly, all the ex-guides. You all think that Taylor and Brent and Scott and the rest have all gone and done their own thing. Actually, they just got lost and we just didn't bother to find them again. No, I'm joking. So basically what happens is in this modern day age, this particular area that we're in South Africa and even in the Mara is fairly well covered by cellular networks, funny enough. And so you would be able to pull up a map and be able to kind of figure out which is north, east, south and west and kind of do that. But also, you know, most of the guides that are here will never be kind of let out on their own without giving them a chance to actually learn roads and those kind of things. Essentially, you know, like Pat and Lauren and Holly and Trishala and Jackie, when she was here, when they were learning, they would have gone out with all of us and they would have had maps, and that would allow them then to calculate where they are. And once, you know, you do that for 2-3 weeks, it becomes quite quick to learn these areas and become second nature. Where it is tricky though, and where a lot of guides do struggle, is when it gets dark. So as soon as you go into nighttime, it's a very, very different thing. You can get turned around quite quickly. If you've got weather like this and you can't see stars, it can become a bit of a struggle to kind of know where you are, especially if you follow something like a leopard or you know, lions through a block, and you twist and you turn and you kind of go and they're hunting and those kind of things. You can get yourself into a bit of a kind of, whoa, where am I situation. Luckily though, I mean, most of our guides that we have been here, I suppose, for a while, and so know the area quite a lot, and what we're doing right now helps you learn very, very quickly. So being on foot, I find, is one of the best things, because you get to kind of walk all the pathways that animals would take, and you will learn very quickly that if you go into a block in a certain direction, where it will kind of spit you out roughly, and that always helps with being able to find where you are. And so, you know, getting lost out here would be quite tricky. Also, luckily we have radios and those kind of things that if you did get yourself into a bit of a bind and you weren't sure, you could always radio, you know, one of us that kind of knows the property a little bit better. But luckily, it doesn't happen often. I mean, I've had a lot of guests get lost, funny enough. The one time we had guests that was supposed to be at Simbambili, and they ended up being found stuck in the Sand River at Londo's. So it sometimes does happen, and people do get lost. It did take us a good few hours to find them. It's also the same with an Nkoro guest once got stuck in Londo's, and it can be difficult because you can go straight on the main road that comes from the gate here, and if you don't take that left, you just end up going all that way. So it does happen. Good. We're going to keep moving. We're going to go see what we can find, see what these guineas were shouting at. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Jamie, who I'm sure is not lost in any way whatsoever.
I feel as though somewhere, wherever he may be, and I think that's probably halfway to Palabora at this point, Brent Leo Smith is astoundingly offended at the implication that at some point in his life he might have been lost, and that's why he left SafariLive. Brent, of course, was born with an internal compass, and I believe his first word was north, followed by a hand sign. It was either that or elephant, I can never remember. North or elephant or lion or something like that. So he would be grievously offended at that thought. Of course, I've heard many a story from Brent's friends about times where they've gone very much in the wrong direction, possibly even driving off-road parallel to the road for extended periods of time. I don't think his first words were 100% live, Kirst. I don't think so. I think that was maybe his first phrase, his first full phrase was 100% live, followed by people get very confused. That's his other one. So it was between those two. I'm never really sure. I can't keep track. I, of course, have been lost many times, and I'm not even vaguely ashamed to admit it. Most recently, and often most dramatically, in the Masai Mara, particularly when we first started there and we were driving around the other side of the river in the National Reserve, where I had most of the time, honestly, not a clue where I was. And it was only when the sun came up that I was actually able to go, is that where I am? I found the Mara River a few times by mistake. Often I'd just find lions before it got dark, and they'd lead me on a merry dance through the night, and by the end of it, I couldn't have told you whether I was still in Kenya for all I knew. Might maybe have accidentally strayed into Tanzania once or twice. So I've definitely been lost. When I first started guiding, my guests were always so impressed with my dedication to night drives. I never rushed us home. They had no idea that was because I didn't fully know where home was. I usually know where I am on a macro level. It's the micro level that gets you. Right now, for example, as I'm about to break down, apparently, with the strange sounds coming from my car. Right now, I know I'm on Cheetah Cutline, but where on Cheetah Cutline? Who knows? The other day I had to call in that Tundi sighting that I spotted on the boundary. Knew I was on Cheetah Cutline. They had to figure it out from there. They just had to find me. Because I pay absolutely no attention to the junctions that I'm driving past. I went past our weaver's nest, by the way. Just had a look for fun. It didn't work. Didn't work out. There are but a few sad little strands of grass left. That's all that's left of our poor weaver's hard work. There's a horrible metal grating noise coming from the front of our car. If I just ignore it, it'll go away. That's how cars work, right? Other than that, I've seen absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not an antelope, not an impala. Not... How'd he get there? That's amazing. Oh, Sydney has performed a truly spectacular feat. He has teleported towards Chitwa Dam. Let's go see if there's anything happening there.
So what a beautiful crocodile there. This crocodile was looking for something right here by the edges. I'm trying to check what exactly he was looking for. I can see there's quite a lot of things I don't understand somewhere here by the edges where he is coming. Oh, there's a leopard. There's a leopard sowing. Let me quickly attend to the leopard. Apologies for a quick sighting of the crocodile. I just hear the leopard sowing now. Somewhere, maybe that is Tingana. It's not far. Somewhere by the Cheetah Cut line, we might be lucky there. I'll come back here. Let me quickly go down that side and see if we can see the leopard. So that was a very close sound. It's not far away from here where I am. So I just did it about 3-4 times. The most sowing in the afternoons is at Tingana. It has happened somewhere here.
Well, good luck, Sydney. Hopefully you'll find your leopard. As you can see, we're sitting here with a piece of grass, sawtooth love grass, I think it is. I didn't even actually look at the grass, but it looks like it could be. No, maybe not. I'll have a proper look just now. But anyway, below the grass is what we actually really were looking for. And you can see that there is a whole clump of red little eggs that are sitting on this piece of grass. Who these eggs are for, I have absolutely no idea, but I thought they were really cool. And it's always nice at this time of the year when you find a lot of this. The eggs look very much like what you would see from a moth or a butterfly. They often lay eggs quite similar to that. It also could be for a multitude of different insects. It's tricky to say. I'll go and try and do a little bit of research and see if I can find what kind of lays little red eggs like that. But isn't that cool? I think it's very, very cool. And it's on the edge of this little grass, and obviously we know that things like insects often will kind of attach their eggs to little grass stalks or flowers or plants where their larva, or whichever kind of insect it is, will be able to hatch and be able to feed quite a bit. And so around this set of eggs, you can see just in the background there's a lot of white coloration at the moment, and so that's all string of star flowers. There's a whole kind of meadow of them at the moment, and I would imagine if it is a butterfly or a moth, a butterfly particularly would be able to then kind of hatch and kind of feed off the leaves, and then once it pupates, it would be in an area where there's at least a huge amount of food. So could be that. I mean, it's tricky to know, but it's a pretty little area that we're sitting in at the moment. So we've gone through the tribulus kind of flowers, which were all the yellow ones on quarantine, and now the string of stars are really starting to kind of come out at the moment, and you'll see a whole kind of area here is just white with flowers at the moment. Now, April, it looks like a long raspberry. It does look a little bit like that, doesn't it? I suppose what I'm interested in is, I want to go and try and find out is, are the red eggs indicative of distasteful or toxic or something like that with them, and is that why it is trying to deter predators? Because you would think resembling something like a fruit or a raspberry or something like that would be quite dangerous out here, because birds would often eat it. Now, are you going to sit still for me? There's a butterfly that's on the string of stars. Yes, there we go, Jean-Andre. Come, let's see if we can... Is it a butterfly or a moth? Need to try and get in here, Jean-Andre. Oh, no, it's just flown again. I'm disturbing it. It looks like a moth, I think, the way that it's kind of folding its wings. This is the kind of frustrating part about trying to get these guys on camera. You could just kind of try. So, Genre, in that tree there, or I mean, I wouldn't call it a tree, I suppose, in that string of stars, on the left side of the bush, I need almost like a laser pointer here. There is... Have you found it? No? Okay. So... I'm going to try and see if it will not oh no, I flashed it again, unfortunately. Let's see if it... there we go. So it's landed on that flower over... Oh, this is so tricky. Yeah, we got it this time. Just going to try and see if I can point roughly to where it is, Jean-Andre. So this flower over here, there it sits. Now I can't see exactly what it is. It's very tricky because of the way that it's kind of sitting. It is a moth that we've got there, and it's kind of... It's got its wings closed in underneath, so I can't really kind of see what kind of moth it actually is at the moment. It looks as though there's some sort of pattern. Now I'm going to try again for Jean-Andre, just to give him a little place to kind of focus in on, and should help him. Let me know if you're in there, Jean-Andre. You good? You're good. Alright, so Jean-Andre has managed to find it. But you can see what I was saying about these flowers. These flowers will attract all kinds of different insects. You're going to find moths that are going to come to this, butterflies. Everything's going to try and feed off this huge amount of food that's come out with all of these little flowers being out. There's going to be a little bit of nectar, and so you'll find also spiders will come out in this area. They'll sit on these flowers and wait for all kinds of prey animals to come, and various other insects that feed off the nectars of these flowers. And sometimes it's a good thing when you walk through a little field or meadow of flowers like this, just to stop and kind of examine each little plant, and you'll be shocked at actually how much life you can find. Often we just think, oh, it's flowers and that's it. But when you sort of stop and stare for a bit, you can find all kinds of little things. There's also, I can see, what is that over there? John, I found something else as well. Is it a fly? It is. I don't know if you want to come around this side, John Ray. It might be better for you. And this one seems to be far more relaxed than what we had just now. But here at the end of my grass stalk, on that leaf down below there, is a little fly that is sitting there. And I was saying earlier that a lot of the insects are not going... Oh, just tapped it, but my mistake. But there we go. A lot of the insects are not going to be too active this morning because, it's just flown, unfortunately, because of the fact that it's quite cool. And so a lot of things like flies and butterflies and moths are going to be quite kind of static, which is a nice thing for us. The other thing I wanted to show you guys is actually sitting on the underside of this leaf. I'm going to try to bend it over. There we go. So that could very well be what we were talking about earlier, is that the eggs are laid on grass stalks and various plants, and then they come out and they start to feed. Now, caterpillars have got to be one of the most difficult creatures to identify. Unfortunately, there's no real kind of field guides to caterpillars, nor is there really any sort of websites that centralize into one area. You kind of got to just scroll through the world's caterpillars, which is very tricky. It makes life quite tedious in terms of trying to ID these guys. But what we can do is probably use the host plant as a space of a search to try and ID something like this. So you would kind of see string of stars and then see what butterflies or moths would use that. You can actually see where it defecated after eating all of these leaves. And I'm pretty sure that if we kind of spend some time walking through here, we'll find myriad of insects that are all over the place. I absolutely love when we can spend time with insects. Insects are, for me, an incredible part of the ecosystem that are often so underrated and so overlooked, and people are often freaked out by them. So, Jamie, you say the moth was an African crimson speckled moth. Is that what? Did I get that right, Kirsty? Because it was quite a mouthful that we were going for. But I unfortunately can't really see underneath it. So you guys would have had a much better view than what I would have. What else have you got there, Jandre? You've just got flowers. Another moth. Oh, is that the same moth? I would imagine it's the same moth. Let's have a look. Oh no, now it's flown. Let's see if it'll stop. Jandre managed to spot it. I can't get close enough to actually see it, so I'm going to have to rely on you guys with your screenshots to actually get a proper view of it. It's amazing how often we get kind of back from walks and because we're on walk, we don't actually really see what is going on at all, from what your point of view is. And sometimes you get back from walk and you see all these incredible images that the cameraman got, and for you it was a long distance view of an insect obscured in a little bush, and so it can be quite tricky. And it's really nice when Jandre is able to get nice and close and you guys can get these awesome close-ups of these moths. Now I don't want to move from where I am. I'm quite far away at the moment. I'm probably about 2 meters from where that moth is, but Jandre is there, and if I move it might disappear. But that's epic camera work, Jandre, to get as close as you are into that little moth with the string of stars kind of lining the top. Absolutely beautiful. Well, I would imagine it's beautiful given where the camera lens. It's okay camera work, Kirsty says. Kirsty, it's Jandre. We can't really kind of do much more than that. We have to just deal with mediocrity this morning. He's unfortunately rusty, and so it takes a bit of time to get him back into what's going on. At some point I'm expecting a camera to come flying my way, which is entirely possible. But no, I kid. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to keep these guys kind of on the screen and in focus when wind is blowing through and you're dealing with tiny, tiny little things in very awkward positions. It's not easy for the cam ops at all, but very cool to see. Jandre, are you nice and close in there? Excellent. That's wonderful news. Right, good. I'm gonna keep scratching around, try to see what other little insects we can find. In the meantime, though, I'm gonna send you back across to Jamie and see if she's managed to find anything of her own.
I'm sure Trist will find all sorts of insects as he goes scratching around. And also get very dirty fingernails. We have found some buffalo and some information for Sydney. Bumped into him briefly. Apparently Tingana just crossed onto Torchwood, which is wonderful news, and he's calling. That's awesome. So Sydney is off following there, but it'll take him through a few non-signal patches. Why is that? Because he crossed at a place called the Mulwanini. Hello, Flows. Long time no see. I haven't seen a buffalo in ages. I've heard them being called in on the Game Drive radio, and I've known that they would be back. Hello, good morning. Yes, Grumpy. You've got a little something in your teeth there. Just right there. Left corner. Yeah? And right corner, actually. Maybe just finish up chewing? No? Oh, I've insulted him. Hey, look, yellow-billed oxpecker. Cool. What a nice surprise. The only time we ever see them on Djuma is when they're on the backs of buffalo, and that's not terribly frequently. So it's something that you will see regularly in the Masai Mara. Oi, come back here. I wasn't finished talking about you. Excuse me. Oh, I see. I see how it is. Well, I hope you all soaked that in, because that's the end of our yellow-billed oxpecker sighting, apparently. And the last time I saw buffalo was about a week ago, and that was the first time I'd seen buffalo in ages. I've just realized I'm telling you a lie, because I did see buffalo on my way home. I warned everyone that there were buffalo hanging out around our camp. But before that, I hadn't seen them for ages. Here's our yellow-billed oxpecker. He's back again. Might be two yellow-billed oxpeckers. Kirsty says that she has the same expression as this buffalo right now after her 3 a.m. wake up. I completely concur and understand. When my alarm went off at 2:45, it's like looking in the mirror, says Kirsty. Kirsty, of course, being one of the most attractive people I know, is saying she's looking a bit like this buffalo this morning, so you know it's bad. Did you grow horns as well, Kirst? Do you have an oxpecker on you? Maybe you're like a Disney princess, just with an oxpecker, just with oxpeckers, which is much less appealing than, say, bluebirds. Kirst says she's always had horns. This we know, but we can't usually see them. They're usually invisible, but to those who know to look for them. This buffalo doesn't actually look that grumpy. Just sort of, I don't know. It's got very droopy ears. He's nodding in agreement. Very tattered ears as well. Now, for those of you that are perhaps new to these live safaris, this is a male buffalo, very clearly. Paula, you want to know if there are buffalo that never grow horns? What an interesting thought. I'm inclined to say no, except perhaps in situations where they have injured the growth plate when very, very young for some reason. I don't know, maybe they got headbutted or ran into a tree at high speed or something like that. I don't know exactly what would have caused an injury like that, but maybe if they injured the growth plate. But even then, I think you just get a misform or a horn that's grown in a strange shape. So, good question. No, I don't think so. Remember that horns are not really like teeth, or tusks is what I'm basically saying. You know, some elephants don't grow tusks, but that to me makes sense. Some people don't grow wisdom teeth. That makes more sense than the bony growth that is a buffalo's horns. I've never seen a buffalo without horns. I have seen buffaloes with misshapen horns, and I have seen buffalo with broken horns. And one very disturbing occasion at Red Dam in Arathusa, I saw a female buffalo. Oh, goodness, shh, Game Drive Radio. Quiet, I'm talking. I once saw a female buffalo with a horn broken off at the base and a oxpecker burying itself into the marrow there. It was one of the most disturbingly painful looking things I have ever seen in my entire life. Ugh. I still get the shivers thinking about it. I mean, that's living bone. That base plate is living bone. And the oxpecker was all the way in there. David wants to know why the buffalo's horns are red. Are they? I suppose they've got a little bit of a reddish tinge. Or maybe I should move forward now that dude's turned his back on us. David, it is... Oh, I see what you're talking about. Okay. Yes, well, it's because it's Kirsty. Kirsty, of course, as you know, is in fact a redhead. So if you didn't know that, now you do. So that's because it's imitating Kirsty. She's set the style for buffalo everywhere, including their standard expression. No, it's because they have been rubbing their heads up against trees. They do that for a couple of reasons, the most important being an intimidation factor. So it's basically to look big and scary. So they rub their heads and their faces up against the trees. The red comes from the tannins of the bark. You've seen the red cambium layers of trees. That is where the redness comes from on their horns. They might also have been digging down into reddish mud, but there's not much reddish mud around here. It's more a sort of reddy brown. Ochre, perhaps. If one were looking for a descriptive word. I mean, I would say that that's the most likely explanation. That, or they've done a really bad box dye. Although, as everyone knows, most box dyes, no matter what color you choose, tend to go red. Little vixen, oh, you vixen, you want to know if it's from the tannins. It is tannins. No, it's from the reddish cambium layer of the bark, which is often caused by tannins. So yes, it is actually. If you don't know why we're laughing at that, it is because after North, Elephant, and 100% Live, Brent's other first words were tannins, and an explanation over why it was that browsers were not managing to survive the dry season. So it's actually they're stained, the horns. And you can see this one, years worth of headbutting something exactly the same size as him, moving at exactly the same speed, and then applying Newton's laws to create a very powerful impact. You can see what it's done to the horns. All those dents and breaks, and watching buffalo fight is a truly impressive experience. You can finish chewing if you want. You know, it's very rude to stop halfway. I thought for one moment that was our Taylor Lautner buffalo. But it's not. I'll never forget him. I'll never mistake any buffalo for him. And unfortunately, he's probably gone now. I've been gone for quite a long time, and I haven't seen him. Very artistic sense, just by the way. Loved it. I haven't seen him since I got back. I think he's probably shuffled off this land. Taylor Lautner buffalo was a buffalo with the straightest boss I have ever seen. The boss is the base of the horns, and the lowest boss that went across the top of his eyes. And he looked very much like Taylor Lautner. It was odd. Apparently, I'm sending you across to Tristan with a Taylor Lautner termite. I don't know what that means, but I guess we'll find out.
Well, we are with termites, and very, very busy termites. Often kind of see this at this time of the morning. There's these guys that are using their tunnels to go back and forth as they kind of go about their business. And so you can see there's bits of material that's been taken up and down, and sometimes you'll even find them kind of moving eggs as they go as well. Now, these little tunnels that they build, they'll often enclose the tunnels, so it's quite nice that this particular tunnel is open at the moment. They might be busy with construction, and that's why it is open, and that they are kind of still moving up and down, but generally they close it up, and it allows them to move with safe passage through even the daylight hours. If they are exposed and out in the open in the daylight, they often then get absolutely chomped by various different bird species, particularly things like hornbills. They'll absolutely love to land in a place like this and just gobble up all of these termites, and so they build little tunnels that they can use in order to basically move around without being seen that they are moving around and being hurt. Now, you'll notice that there's a few different sized termites here. So there'll be those that are a little bit smaller. Those will be mostly workers, and then you'll get the really big guys with the serious mouth parts, and those will be your soldier termites. So your soldiers are the ones that are out to protect the little workers as they go about building this tunnel system, and they'll try and deter predation as much as possible. So through spraying formic acid or using those mouth parts to clamp down and bite, they will try their very, very best to protect those little guys that you see on top there that are busy kind of working and trying to just build particle by particle on top. And it's amazing to watch these guys. You can see how the antennas are constantly moving and working as they try and kind of pick up on little different subtle cues that each one will be giving. And so pheromones mostly is what they rely on, these guys, is that they will basically pick up the pheromones from one another and we'll try and kind of work out where they're going to be going, what they're actually doing, and you can see there the construction is taking place. Isn't that cool? So it's much like a building team on a construction site that we see, is that each one's got its own little job, and you can see little particles of soil being taken along and then just being packed on top. Kaz, when I was a little boy, I ate a termite once. I don't know why, but I did. It was not ideal. And because actually the reason why is because I got told they taste like peanut butter. And so that's why I tried one. But those are the big adult kind of winged termites of a specific species. These little guys like this, no. And since I've become a guide, I just try not to disturb them. Termites are so vitally important for the ecosystem here and are such a keystone of what goes on that I feel like if I had to go and try and grab one, I would destroy the entire kind of system that's taking place. And so I don't know, part of me just doesn't want to do that. And so I wouldn't eat one of these guys. Unless, of course, if you were absolutely starving, you'd be able to eat them. And I know Sydney's got lots of kind of tales about eating various different insects. And so maybe he has eaten termites a lot more than I have. I'm not sure if he does actually eat them. But for me, I would rather leave them to it. I find them absolutely incredible little creatures, and they are a marvel of nature and the ability to work together. And interesting. So Lou just told Kirsty she got told that there was a guy at Chitwa that had an allergic reaction to eating termites and went into anaphylactic shock, which is, there you go, not ideal. So one should never put things in one's mouth that they do not know what the toxicity is or whether or not there is a reaction to it. I mean, I know lots of people that have eaten termites and been absolutely fine. So just maybe there was something in them that particular person couldn't handle. But they, like I say, for me, eating these guys is just, what's the point really? All I'm doing is disturbing nature that is out here, and when we kind of just driving around do that enough that I feel like eating one of them is maybe not the best idea. Now, of course, they can be used outside of eating. There's also other human uses. They were used as stitches, particularly the soldier termites, which you might think, well, how does that work? So if you've got small cuts and things like that, they often used to take these termites, the soldiers, they would pull the wound together, force the termite to basically bite on over the sides of that wound, and then break them at the head section, and the head would then stay clamped over the wound and keep that wound nice and sealed, and would make sure that the animal, that you have a wound that can actually kind of heal up. Now, there was something else that I found just now. When Jean-Ray found the termites, I found something else that made me very, very happy. In fact, actually, no, I lie. I didn't find it. Herbie found it, and I can't see it now. Where did it go? It was here. Jean-Ray, where has it gone? Because, like I said, it made me very happy because it's the first one I've seen this summer, but it seems to have vanished. It was right here, somewhere in this section. Now, what we're looking for is also another insect, and I don't know where it's gone. It must have flown away. That's not ideal. So what we're looking for is an elegant grasshopper. An elegant grasshopper, a lot of you will know, are beautiful, beautiful grasshoppers with multiple different colors on them, and we get them quite regularly in the summer months, but we haven't seen any yet. The first one I've seen was this morning, so I was quite keen to show it to you guys, but it's gone. I left it right here where I'm standing, so we'll have to try and find another one. Generally, when you find one, though, there's normally quite a few of them that are around. They kind of, it's like wooden kingfishers. You don't see them. All of a sudden, you'll get one, and then hundreds of them. So anyway, we're going to keep moving. We're going to kind of head southwards a little bit while we do that, though. Let's send you back across to Sydney and see how his leopard search is going.
I am now by the side of Torchwood after hearing the saw from Tingana, who was just spotted earlier a few minutes ago, and he got disappeared right by the Torchwood. We can't find him, we can't find his tracks. We have been circling and going in these bushes. He's just nowhere to be found here. So he's playing some hide and seek. So we just missed him as when we got to that to the main road, we met another car who just saw it a few minutes before that. So when he was sowing, so they were following him. Niconico viewer, the sowing has got same kind of effect as lion roar. Sowing has got something to do with the territorial behavior. When the animal is sowing is when he's trying to advertise his presence in his territory as a territorial holder. Sometimes, yes, the intruders can also come and vocalize to try and provoke the territorial holder when they want to challenge each other for territorial reasons. So when the animals are sowing is when they're trying just to let everybody, this area is still theirs and they are in charge. If you come in here, you will know me very well. I am Tingana and I'm potentially dangerous. Those are the kind of messages he's trying to give out. So the kind of sowing we are hearing all the time, they also entertain the females. So the animal which has got very nice and thick sauce and rows, females, they prefer them. The bush is getting very thick. It's difficult to see him. So I'm just going to go back to the chitwa. There is something I saw there by chitwa that I don't understand. I just want to quickly go and check that, and then I will come back and check much more towards Juma, as possibilities of him to come towards Juma, they are high. He is in Touchwood, but not very far away from the Juma side. So now let's go back to Tristan with the spiders.
Well, our morning walk has been a highly intriguing one. Lots of little things everywhere. I mean, we've walked probably not even 200 meters this morning, and it's just been fascinating talking to kind of Herbie and looking at little things. Yes, Egyptian geese, I can hear you. Just going to wait for them to pass. Always making a noise. Anyway, so like I say, we've had a very cool walk this morning. We've had lots of little interesting things, and Herbie managed to come across a spider web that is here, and it's a really interesting kind of view of a web because there's a few kind of interesting components to it. Firstly, we can't find any actually live spiders within the web structure itself. It's a very well hidden web, which is interesting because generally with webs that you see are normally on the fringes of a tree, and those will be webs that will catch all kinds of insects. Now this particular web, I'm pretty sure, was spun in order for these little spiders to be able to be hatched and then to go through a molting stage. So if you have a look, you'll see that there are exoskeletons for a whole host of little tiny spiders inside there, so lots of little white kind of exoskeletons. What will often happen with spiders when they are getting to that point where they are starting to grow is that unfortunately for them their skin doesn't grow with them, and so they will spin webs that are quite well concealed, and they will then go into those and they'll go through this molting phase where they basically separate their internal parts of their body from this external skeleton, and they will then kind of extract themselves from that with a newer, bigger body. And it's interesting how they will kind of feed and drink water, and then they'll starve themselves almost, and so that the body shrinks slightly when they exude this chemical that separates that exoskeleton from them, and then they'll kind of hatch through and then feed again, and while this exoskeleton is still softer, and that expands them out and they get a little bit bigger. So it's really quite cool to kind of see how they go about it, and how the web is very different in this situation than it is if it was to be for catching food, because food items would be on the edge. Now, interestingly enough, there's also a big, thick, white section to it. Now, there's two things that you often find in spider webs. One is called a stabilimentum. Now, stabilimentums are generally perceived to be a part of the web that is sewn with very, very thick silk to basically deter animals from walking through it and breaking the web. This, I'm sure, is the remnants of the egg casing when all those little eggs were inside and they've then hatched out and moved. Now, Connie Bay, you say that these would be, well, this would be your worst nightmare to walk into this. Well, yes, you and I think Lauren as well. Lauren has an absolute phobia for spiders as well, and so I'm sure she can relate to you. For me, I don't mind spiders at all. They don't bother me in the slightest, which is a weird thing. I suppose they have got a lot of negative connotations in terms of, you know, what we see and what we view. Often they're portrayed as such creatures that are evil and can eat you and all those kind of things, which in actual fact is not true. And without spiders, we'd have a really serious problem. We would have far too many mosquitoes and far too many flies out here. They really help just control all of those kind of insects that would overpopulate hugely. So while they are creepy, and I know you said you'd rather kind of see a ghost than walk into that, and I understand that. There's phobias that people have, and I get it, but they really are important for our ecosystem, and so I'm always quite happy when we see lots of spiders around. I think, you know, it's a good sign that there's a healthy kind of system that's in place. Now, Jean-Andre, if you can come across this side, because I've actually found one of the spiders that are alive. In terms of which spider this is, very tricky when they are this small to know exactly which spiders they are, but basically you can see now this web is a very different construct to what you saw from the web that's inside. I'm almost 99% sure it's the same spider species, but essentially this web is now right on the edge of the tree, and its construct is flatter and rounder, and it basically is there to design to catch any insects that would be disturbed off the ground and kind of come into the actual web itself. Now, Jean-Andre Shame is battling with the wind a little bit. Sorry, Jean-Andre, let me just try and kind of block the wind a bit. I'm not doing a very good job, am I? No. And so, you know, it's a kind of... that wind is playing havoc. But in terms of, like I say, the species of this particular spider, tricky. It could be one of the orbs, but I mean, I don't... So small. What are you? I don't know. And to be honest, I'm not sure. It's still tiny, and the markings on it are still quite dull. Often with spiders, the older they get, the more colourful they get, and more kind of distinct the markings become. But I'm trying to kind of figure out what markings there are. It almost looks like one of the kind of angulate orb webs that you can get out here, but I might be wrong. There's lots of spider species that are not very well described, and it's not one of our more common species, that one. But anyway, very, very, very cool to see. Good. We're going to keep going, and we're going to keep seeing what we can find. In the meantime, though, back to Sydney, who sounds like he might have abandoned his leopard search and is now looking at crocodiles.
You can see the crocodile is still right there. When I said I want to go back to Chitwa because there's something I don't understand. This crocodile, when I got here, he was feeding all these things that are lying down in front of him. Looks like dead fishes. So you can see that there's quite a lot of fishes dead there. I don't know what exactly is happening here, but I can see the crocodile is just having a free meal. So, I'm just trying to check here by the edges. Some of them are just lying here on the bank. So look at that. It's quite a lot of them. You can even see the flies there as well. So I don't know what exactly the problem is here. So, but I can see that the wind then deposited all these fish to this corner, because by the other edges I'm not seeing a lot of them died. Yeah, Jerry, sometimes lack of oxygen by the water can also affect them. But on this particular case, I am not sure what exactly has happened here, as it is something that I just found out about now. But looking at the number of fish, I can see is quite a lot. And the challenge is, it looks like it is the same species. I can't see what species it is, but it looks like it's the same species. Yeah, this looks like is the same species affected. Look at that. This is so sad. So this is so sad. So when we got the crocodile here, we never thought that he is eating something. But when I was reversing, going quickly to go and search for Tingana, I saw there's something I don't understand here. So crocodiles, they do catch fish, and you can see now they are just scavenging, eating those dead fish there. So I am sure there's no competition, or there won't be any competition here. So maybe it's a tilapia, yes. Maybe it's tilapia, the fish that we are seeing there. I'm just trying to check nicely here if they are tilapia or they are carps. So I think the competition here will be very much minimal because of this dangerous predator we are seeing here now. So the crocodile, I don't think he will allow it. I don't think it will be safe for any other animal to come and try and share a meal with a crocodile. But if they are unattended, some other animals will obviously come to also have something to eat. This is beautiful. The African fish eagle. So I can hear that he is making a call from that side. Yeah, he's not far away from here where we are. You can see him right there. So there were two African fish eagles here. So, but I'm just seeing one. So the other one must be somewhere hiding much more that side. Yeah, the fish eagles, I'm not too sure if he's going to land here and also have something to eat, or he is preferring the fresh kill. So the crocodiles, they can be able to eat quite a lot here, and after eating, they can save everything in the stomach and lower their metabolism so that their bodies can keep going for quite a long time without the next meal. Animals such as predators, they are always not aware of when they're going to get the next meal. So they must have to look after the food. So the crocodile is one of those animals with a very nice strategy in order to conserve energy and food in the stomach. After eating here, they can be able to lower their metabolism and the body functioning so that they don't spend a lot of energy. So the difference between the male and female crocodile is the head. The male crocodiles, they've got short heads, and the females, they've got thin, long head. So that is how you can easily distinguish them. If you look just on that head, it doesn't even look like an animal. If you don't see that whole body, you might think this is just a log. So now let's cross over to Jamie, who is driving around the reserve.
Now, to go back to Tristan's conversation, oh no, sorry, first of all, before we do that, you know what that reminds me of, that situation with the fish, was the time that Chitwa Dam overflowed and flooded and left a whole load of catfish stuck in a puddle. Was that what happened? That was what happened. And then the fish eagles were just having the best time of things. They were down there constantly. I mean, I've never seen an overfed fish eagle, but these ones came pretty close. There were too many fish for even them to manage to finish up. And just catfish everywhere. It was really sad. And what I found really odd was the fact that they never managed to get out. You'd think, because catfish can move over land, over short distances, sometimes even long distances. I expected some of them at least to manage to find their way back to the dam itself, but most of them didn't. Anyway, to go back to Tristan's conversation about spiders, I just so happened to have Lauren on the back of the vehicle with me. And we are curing her of her phobia through immersive therapy, because it's summer now. So we've probably driven through close on 20 spider webs already, and there's more to come. So eventually we'll get there. Lauren's grinning in the back. We'll get there. What's quite sad is that there's, for a number of reasons, most importantly ecologically, it's quite sad that there are no orb web spiders out yet. There's been a steady decline in their numbers here over the course of the last 3 years. I haven't seen many at all. In fact, I've seen none this year. Maybe Tristan has seen one on walk, but I don't think so. We really haven't seen them, and they're beautiful spiders. They look terrifying. If you're scared of spiders, that's the worst possible spider you can see, because they're this big, and they are bright red and black. The big garden orbs. Not garden orbs, golden orbs. The garden orbs are slightly smaller with a spiky abdomen. Might as well show you a birdie, because I can't find you anything else. Chup chur. There you go. Just because he sounds so beautiful and so happy. You see him on the end of the dead branch there, right at the top. Up, 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 there. There we go. He just sounds so happy. I thought you might enjoy that for a bit. The woodland kingfish is a really good example of why one should put your, should give it your all in all things. The woodland kingfisher call is not done in half measures. It is a full body experience for that little bird. Everything goes into it, right down to the tips of its little tail feathers. All right, now, this woodland kingfisher is, of course, reveling in the number of insects around. So is the bushwalk team. Tristan has found us a butterfly.
I was reveling in the insects, but then Jeandre chased my butterfly away. Jeandre, we had the best butterfly. No, we didn't have, it's not the best butterfly, but it was a nice butterfly. We had a black streaked hairtail that was sitting on a tree. Did you see where it went, Jeandre? That was coleslaw, exactly. It was coleslaw. It was sitting perfectly well. We've been sitting here for how long, Jean-Ray? But a good 5 minutes or so, and it sat dead still. But I actually, while we're sitting here, I want to just see something. If you can come here, Jean-Ray, for me, in the meantime, because now you chase my butterfly away, you're going to do some work. If you have a look in here on this tree, you notice that there's actually something that's been going on here. So there's almost looks like little wood sort of shavings or sawdust that is captured on this leaf itself. And so I'm trying to actually see where it's coming from on the tree. It's often a good indication of where potentially an insect has fed, and you can actually see it there on this part of the branch is where they've bored in to the actual part of the tree itself. Now there's a little spike thorn that this is in at the moment, a little common spike thorn, and I'm just trying to see what would cause that. It's something that is eaten in there, and so that's all its defecation and it's kind of where it's eaten through that's come back out and it's all over the leaves. But I don't see any sign of said insect anywhere around. Often when you find this kind of evidence, it's much like tracking, is that you can lead you to where the insect is, but I don't actually see any insects. I'm kind of poking around through all of the leaves at the moment. As you can see, I'm kind of inside the tree and trying to kind of look and see if I can spot anything. Often you can spot little kind of insects moving if you get a little bit closer, but alas, it seems our sour plum, why did I say sour plum? I don't know why I said sour plum. It's just because I was thinking of jacket plum, which was because I was talking to Pat about the spike thorn, and he said jacket plum, which then got me to sour plum, and I don't know why. Let's forget it. I don't know what happened there at all. But no, stop laughing. Chandra is giggling at me, and Kirsty, exactly, it's like the time you counted 10-11 instead of 10-9. But anyway, these things happen. It's part and parcel of life. It's live, and this is what happens, is sometimes we have slips of the tongue. I don't know. Chandra, stop laughing at me. I need to keep a straight face at some point to be able to carry on and continue with my job at this stage. But anyway... The spike thorn, there we go, we got that right. Sour plum actually would be a nice tree to find. I haven't seen a sour plum in ages, or the little plums themselves. Plums are, you can eat them, but they are incredibly sour, as the name would suggest. And actually, I know somebody got violently ill from eating too many of them. So apparently too many of these things causes a build-up of a certain substance, and it's very, very bad for you. And so one should stay away from eating too many sour plums. But I can't... Oh, wait. Chandra, slowly. Oh, no. Now, our butterfly needs to sit still. There we go. It's going to sit there. Oh, butterfly, behave yourself. It's a very, very pretty butterfly. It's got blacks and oranges and is sitting there. Now, I'm not 100% convinced on which one it is. I'll have to have a little look. But isn't that pretty? You can see all the kind of orange marks. It should be an easy butterfly to identify. I just kind of, you get quite rusty when it comes to these guys, unfortunately. And when you haven't seen them for a while, it's kind of got to go and jog your memory once again. But those orange sort of circles all along both the top and underwing, as well as those little black lines, I would imagine we'll find this butterfly pretty simple, pretty quickly. It's... Ooh. Very pretty though, and when it opened its wings, I thought I saw a flash of blue inside there, and so a little bit of black and blue, which I would imagine, I wonder if it's not one of the zebra butterflies. I'll have a look just now. I've got an app with me that shows butterflies, and you can sometimes kind of in the field use it, which is really nice. It's a very, very... So Lisa reckons a zebra butterfly. I'm going to just check quickly on the app itself, and show you. Let's see. Common blue, short tooth, Janelle zebra. I don't think it is actually a zebra butterfly. You know that. It actually doesn't have blue. It's orange on the inside. Where are you? It's down here, Jean-Ray. Oh, it's landed on me. Where did it go? Oh, it's flown past. Okay, well, Jean-Ray is hunting it down like a madman and is hopefully going to find it. I'm just trying to see... So there we go. So apparently we had a brief moment of signal loss. I do apologize about that. We're in a bit of a tricky spot for some reason. Ingus is causing a bit of interference for us. But anyway, there's our butterfly that you can see quite nicely. So we'll try and do a little bit of research onto which one. I'm pretty sure I can find it quickly. James Richard, a dark orbed ringlet. Is that what, did I get that right? Dark webbed ringlet must be. Yes, indeed. Well done, James. That is exactly what it is. It is a dark webbed ringlet. So if you have a look here, so James is very, very good with his butterflies. So essentially there is the top side of the butterfly that looks like that. I don't know why I saw blue. I'm having an absolute nightmare in this segment. But anyway, you can see kind of the orange sort of tips to it. Now I'm just going to kind of, there we go. That's what it looks like on top. And then if we tap it out and just go and have a look, there we go. That's quite right. And so well done, James. Thank you very much for helping. Like I said, it wouldn't have been it's a butterfly that we would have probably kind of found quite quickly. And you can see why it's called a ringlet and why a dark webbed one as well. That kind of pattern on the wings itself, coupled with those little orange rings and the silver dot in the middle, is a really pretty butterfly, that's for sure. And it's a really cool thing to be doing butterflies once again. Obviously, like I say, we get quite rusty out here, unfortunately, is that because you don't see them for sort of 8 months. And the last year has been, well, last year's summer period was so poor with butterflies that you kind of didn't see many at all. And so it's been so nice to start seeing signs of them again and to start actually reacquiring knowledge once more. But I have seen this butterfly before. Unfortunately, the names escaped me and I couldn't remember, so James has really come to our rescue, which is quite nice actually. So thank you, James. Always good when he comes to the rescue, or when somebody comes to the rescue. Now, what's this? Hold on, we've got more insects that Herbie's pointing out. What are you now? You fly as well. Interesting. That's a nasty looking insect, that's for sure. Lots of colors on it that makes me not want to go anywhere near it. It's got reds and oranges. Or is it going to go on the lens? I think it's going to climb on the lens. There we go. It's going for the lens, Jandre. It's too heavy for this action. What are you? Some sort of beetle, but tricky to say which. Oh, summer. Summer can make you feel stupid sometimes in that all these insects come out. And I was actually talking to Steph about it yesterday, is that this is the first summer that either one of us has actually seen bombardier beetles with any sort of regularity, which is pretty cool. And there's always seems to be insects that appear out of absolutely nowhere and start... David, so blister beetles out here are not quite the same as this. They are CMR beetles is also another name for them. They typically have spots on their wings and are more of a yellow-black color. These guys have got an orange head and kind of stripy legs. Jandre, if you want one that's going to behave a little bit better for you, there's one here that's down below that is not going absolutely crazy and is moving all over the show. But I don't know if it is a blister beetle. I mean, it's... To be honest with you, the first time that I've seen one of these in this area, if I'm honest, and we've done a lot of bushwalks out here, and this is, for me, the first time I've seen this particular beetle. So I'll have to go and have a little look. I mean, maybe we've had it on camera before. Obviously, there's a number of us that do bushwalks, but I haven't seen this beetle before on camera at all. And it's funny that it's on these tribulus, these little kind of puncture vine devil thorns at the moment. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it, because we haven't had too much of those before this year. Good, we're going to carry on. We'll try to figure it out when we get back to camp. In the meantime, though, back to Sydney and the crocodiles.
Terrapin had that fish. Another crocodile has just arrived now. I can see he's trying to have some breakfast this morning. I was trying to check what exactly the species we are seeing is. The fish that we just saw died there is looking like it's a tilapia. Yes, I strongly agree that this one is a tilapia. Mostly the fish, they got killed by lack of oxygen by the water, and also high temperatures by the water holes affect them a lot. So when the plants and algae are not growing too much by the dams, it does affect the production of oxygen, which support the adaptation of these fishes by these kind of water holes. So you can see that the tilapias, a lot of them has died now, but because a scientific investigation is not yet done, I am not sure about what is the main cause of these fish dying. In general, I know lack of oxygen and raise of water temperature does affect the fish. So the terrapins are also feeding on this fish. We saw earlier on here, while you were away, they were also here trying to have something to eat. So there is a little bit of a competition going on here at the moment. So the hippopotamus are also in the area. I saw they were also challenging each other. We're just going to show you now. There was some display here next to the island. So you can see the hippopotamus are right there. So they're not coming much more towards here where these fishes are at the moment. So that is a big school of the hippopotamus. Graspy and Barbie, here what we saw eating now is the crocodile. And earlier on during the break, there was a fish eagle, but this fish is not eating the dead fishes. The fish eagle came and grabbed the fish right in front of us. So the fish eagles are not impressed with the easy meal. They are still catching as normal. So yes, some other scavengers can come here and eat like what the crocodiles are doing and the terrapins. So there is still quite a lot of fish available at the moment, because I can see that the line all the way from here where we are in front of us is still having some fish lying on the banks. So the fish is taking out all, the water is taking out all these fish. Now you can see there we've got the big beautiful marabou stock standing on the other side. It was two, oh, it's still two. The other one is much more on the right. I can see it's looking for something by the water there. So that one is very much pretty relaxed at the moment. So normally the stocks, you will see them standing on one leg. Yeah, that is the second one I saw. So there were two just now. So this is one of those beautiful birds. Look at that very big lap hanging there. So the stocks are also not coming much more closer to the side. So now let's quickly go to Jamie, who's got the dwarf mongoose.
Lots of carnivore action this morning, from fish-eating crocodiles to insect-eating, oh, goodbye, dwarf mongoose. Oh, there's another head up and to the left of that sense. It occurred to me, you know, that there is actually a name for what we've been calling Cole's Law. Rhymes with odd. It's a very odd law. But we'll stick with Cole's Law for now. Fortunately, hey, there's something happening around here that's upset them. I'm not sure. I saw a little falcon earlier. I'm not sure if it's that, but the birds have been alarm calling as well. I'm wondering what it is that's got them so nervous. It's us as well, to be clear. I don't know if it was that or... I don't know. Not sure exactly. Oh, here we go. There's one coming up down to the left there. There we are. One little sour plum. I mean dwarf mongoose. Run, 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 run. I really don't want... Oh, there's a head again. Their heads blend in so well to the termite mound you can barely see them unless they move. There we go. Well done, Sens. The thing about dwarf mongoose is that they're naturally curious creatures, so they actually can't resist investigating. Now, dash, welcome to dash. Whoa, there's a lot of ways of saying dash. Dash would like to know about the social structure of dwarf mongoose. They're actually fascinating little creatures that are almost comparable in a way to something like a wild dog. They have an alpha pair that is most of the members of the little family are related to each other, and then you obviously get some dispersal males to help to keep things more, the genetics nice and fresh. And then the alpha pair will breed. Sometimes a beta female will breed as well, but mostly it is the alpha male and the alpha female that breed, and the rest of the group will commit themselves to helping the female with her babies. And such cute little babies they are. Apparently, so the story goes, when it comes down to choosing a new alpha, it's not really about fighting so much with dwarf mongoose. Apparently they have intensive grooming competitions where they lick each other's fur and groom and look for ticks and all those sorts of things. And one is declared the victor when it has managed to continue grooming longer than the other, and the one sort of collapses in a state of exhausted dehydration and possibly tongue burn from doing all that grooming. Yes, little bright-eyed thing. They're very intelligent little creatures, mongoose. Ferocious hunters, scorpion killers of note, and centipedes, of course. Silver Dragon has been watching a viral clip courtesy of Sebastian and Taylor McCurdy. Wants to know whether or not they are the ones that play dead. It is indeed the one from that video that was seen to be playing dead. It was an invitation, which has never been seen before, but an invitation to the hornbills to come and play. The young dwarf mongoose, they often throw themselves on their backs like that to invite play from other members of the group. It had never been seen before being done with a hornbill. And we've often spoken about the close relationship between dwarf mongoose and hornbills. They are huge fans of each other, and they have quite a symbiotic, mutualistic relationship, in that the hornbills will help to keep watch for the dwarf mongoose, and then they get the scraps of whatever the dwarf mongoose happen to be eating. But to see one inviting play like that is truly extraordinary. I wish I could see something like that. It's a once-in-a-lifetime sighting. Absolutely incredible. There's a family of dwarf mongoose that live at the house that I live at here. Bob wants to know why they always look as though they are trembling. I imagine them with a sort of nervous disposition of a very tiny teacup chihuahua. And one can hardly blame them, because unlike the chihuahua in a pampered home, the little mongoose actually have plenty to fear. There is a lot out here that would catch and kill a dwarf mongoose, and when your eyes are that close to the ground, it pays to pay attention. Mostly, though, it's because they're constantly, bye-bye, sniffing. I think that might be the end of our dwarf mongoose sighting. I think the rest of them have taken the back exit and escaped that way. I think it's not so much trembling as it is constantly sniffing and evaluating. They're very restless animals. But there's a lot to be afraid of out here. Wahlberg's eagles love a dwarf mongoose. I was saying that there's some that live at the house that I live in it's very easy to know when there's a Wahlberg's or something like that flying over. One Wahlberg's eagle, one Wahlberg's sour plum, one Wahlberg's eagle actually did take a dwarf mongoose from inside our garden. And when they see it coming, then they all screech, and they either run under my car or under the deck around the swimming pool. I think that's that for our dwarfy sighting. I've been looking for elephants all morning. I haven't found one. It's very sad. Okie dokie. We're going to continue on searching for anything on this lovely morning. Tristan apparently is on bushwalk. He's looking for sour plums.
Oh, I can see I'm not going to live this one down with Jamie Patterson. I'm going to get to Herbie shortly because he's calling me quite incessantly, which we'll go to now. But before we do that, we just wanted to show you a quick view of a bird-dropping moth. So this bird-dropping moth, well, as the name suggests, represents bird turd. And it basically does that as a way of camouflaging. So things think that it is a birds dropping and therefore, leaves it alone, which is a very clever way of going about things, but I'm not sure of all the things you want to mimic. Poo from a bird is what it is. Now, Herbie's calling me. He's saying there's something very interesting here, so we're going to go and have a little look. Chandre, you're like a bull in a china shop with that poor moth. If it's still there, I'm going to be very impressed. Herbie, what do we have? A kill. Awesome. Well done, Herbie. That's very cool. So, inside here, which I'll show you now, I'm just going to try and place my bottom down so that I don't get thorns in it, because there are a multitude of thorns. If you have a look here, this is note to self and note to kids out there. When sitting, look out for these, because if this goes in your bottom, you are going to feel very unhappy about life. I can attest to this. It's happened before, and especially a plant like this that has very sharp, big spines. Spines are always the worst of them all. Right, now the kill that we have got, that Herbie has pointed out, is a crab spider that is on a big moth kill. So I'm going to try and just kind of open out the vegetation a little bit for Gendre to get in there. There you go, Gendre. But there we go. Crab spider on a moth, and a big crab spider at that. They seem to love to target these moths and target kind of quite big prey items. It's very cool to see. And I've actually thoroughly enjoyed watching these crab spiders of late. There's been quite a few of them that have been moving around and have been going after various moth species. Wind, behave yourself. And so what would have happened is that this crab spider would have waited on a potential part where it knows that moths are going to gather, so a flower. And I see there's a little yellow commelina behind it in the background there. It might be quite tricky for you to see it, Genre, but there it is there. And so that yellow commelina might have attracted this little moth, and the crab spider was lying in wait and managed to grab it. I'm just trying to see, we're underneath a leadwood at the moment, so I don't think it would be from that. But anyway, it grabs this moth and it's injected its venom. The moth obviously dies and liquefies, and now the spider looks like it's in the process of feeding. So it looks like it's busy kind of sucking nutrients out at the moment, and it's part of the reason why it's being so relaxed with us. Sorry, Gendre, I messed that up. And it's part of the reason why it's being so relaxed and probably still sitting quite still. But there you go. See how it's just manipulating the moth around? Isn't this cool? So if you're scared of arachnids, today's probably not the day for you to have watched. Oof, Romit, I'm actually not sure. It's a big meal. If you look at the size of the moth in relation to the size of the spider, how long it would actually last, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it would get robbed maybe by something else. So you might find something like a bird comes along and spots that moth and tries to take it away. It'd be interesting to see. But, I mean, we can try and come back again this afternoon and see if it's still here. That might be an idea. I would imagine, though, the spider would feed off this and be able to sustain it for at least a couple of days, if not weeks. That it would be able to survive off. But I think it depends on how much of it actually kind of gets fed on. Cara, yes, a moth milkshake is what is happening right now. You must also remember that within a moth and the way it's kind of structured is that even though this looks really big in relation to the spider, remember the wings are not going to contain really any sort of nutrition for the spider at all. It's really just the body. But even then, that body is probably, I would say, double the size of the spider. And so I would imagine it's going to last it for a while. I mean, if it can hang on to it, then maybe a couple of weeks, like I say, would be enough. But very, very cool to see. I love these crab spiders. They're absolutely amazing little creatures. They are incredible at the way that they camouflage and very, very pretty. You often kind of see this white one that you've got here is the most common that we see, but you do get other varieties of them with various other colors. Now, just changing places with Gendre a little bit, just so that we can get a better angle. Gendre, I'm going to just try and lift this back a little bit and not try and disturb things too much. I'm trying to use a branch just to kind of lift it out, and Gendre is trying to get nice and close in there so it can give you a nice detail. Unfortunately, one thing about a bushwalk backpack is that it has an aerial, and that aerial makes life very tricky for our camops. It often gets stuck in branches and all kinds of other things, and so Gendre is trying his level best to kind of negotiate the branches as much as possible. I'm just going to move that piece of grass there, and there we go. So Kirsty's saying excuses for Gendre. Yes, Gendre, Kirsty's giving you a hard time today, but you know what, Gendre, let me help you, because I can see you trying, but as much as you push, it won't go any further. Right. Which way do you want to go? Back. There we go. We've removed Gendre from the bush. There we go. I don't have much to say about this. This poor spider and this poor moth have both been disturbed by Gendre. No. Exactly, we need another one. Let's trade him in. Kirst, we've definitely got to get a new cameraman. Gendre, please don't get stuck again. He's saying he doesn't want. He's got this little sulky face as though we're being nasty to him. But meanwhile, it's actually, he was nasty to the spider, and so we had to reprimand him a little bit. Anyway, Gendre, behave yourself. Otherwise, we're going to have to get you. We have to get another one. We'll trade you in for somebody else. Good. We're going to carry on. We're going to go see what else, and we can find lots of interesting things out this morning. While we do that, though, back to Jamie, and she's looking at a tree, but I believe it's not a sour plum.
Alrighty, well, Tristan trades in Gendre for a sour plum, cameraman. We have found our elephants, but unfortunately they are not being terribly cooperative. Apparently, Tristan did clarify that it was not going to be a sour plum, so my mistake. I don't know why I keep saying that. I was really hoping it was Fang's herd, and there is a floppy-eared elephant just to the right of this one. There's an elephant with very floppy ears, and I'm hoping against hope it might be Fang. Well, not the floppy-eared elephant, but the herd. But unfortunately, they're moving. Oh, excuse me. That took me by surprise. I think there's another one coming. Tristan caught up. Okay, let's try that again. Tristan has commanded me to stop now. I'll do my best. That was not within my control. Tristan caught up with Fang yesterday for the first time in nearly 2 years. I haven't seen her in just as long. Okay, it's gone again. I swallowed it. And I would really, really like to, because I have some lovely memories attached to seeing Fang's herd, and I'm almost convinced in my own mind that this is her herd. It's just that they're all in such a thick block that it's going to be very difficult to prove, and they're going west. They mustn't. They must come back right into Djuma and come and drink at the dams. I haven't seen them in a long time. My left eye has now decided to start streaming. Obviously, must have got a grass seed or something up my nose. I'm truly incapacitated. Ooh, why is everything so bright all of a sudden? Now, B. Cattrall, you say that Fags... Fags... I'm fine. Thanks, Kirst. Fags herd has an elephant with a floppy left ear. It's also got, as far as I remember, Fags herd has got an elephant with 2 floppy ears. I know about... there's one with half an ear. No, this is a floppy right ear. No, it is a floppy right ear. So maybe it's not. I just remember Fang's herd as having a lot of different, unique individuals. Fang herself, of course, for those of you that don't know, is an elephant with a backwards-facing tusk. And at one point, it broke slightly. The tip broke off. But at one point, it reached right and curved right down around and touched her front leg. And then there was the floppy-eared one, the half-eared elephant. I just remember a lot of unique-looking individuals in that herd. It is a massive herd. She's special to me, of course. Tristan had that amazing sighting with her on quarantine, which was one of the most unique things I've ever seen. But she's special to me because of that baby elephant sighting, the newborn baby elephant that fell down into the Mulwati when it took its first few stumbling steps, and Mom decided that what it needed was a challenge in its life and led it down a steep bank, and it fell. That, to me, is one of the most special moments I've ever had live. And it was made even more special, of course, because Gracie was watching. It's definitely a highlight. Goodness gracious. Why did you vanish, elephants? Unfortunately, there is no way that we'll be able to stay with them. This is an enormous block. Block, of course, being the space between roads. Be truthful. Well, be truthful. I'll do my utmost to be truthful in my answer to your question. Be truthful wants to know whether or not an elephant's floppy ear could be straightened out. I suppose it depends on the damage that was done to it. Mostly when an elephant's got a floppy ear like that, it's an injury to the cartilage that's actually done that. And the answer to that is generally no. Unless, of course, you were really looking at sort of massive medical intervention, which I think would probably do the elephant more harm than good. That sort of amount of anesthetic. Elephants in particular can be risky animals to anesthetize. Or the risk to them, of course, not to us. Because they are so large, they're so heavy, and things can go wrong on a spectacular scale. But I think if you really wanted to, if you know, for the sake of human curiosity, we're having a dust bath, you could probably do it by inserting some sort of support there in the same way that would happen with a human being. You'd have to get a specialist elephant orthopedic surgeon in or something. Or plastic surgeon, maybe. I don't know what would be required to fix a floppy elephant ear. Plastic surgeon? You don't really get many plastic vets. Plastic vets? No. Plastic vets? That doesn't work. Plastic surgery vets. Cosmetic surgery is not really something that animals are too keen on. Kirsta said an ear doctor. Thank you, Kirst. Yes, get the ENT in. Take a little nip and a little tuck here and there. Cinch it in at the waist. Take a little off the nose. Lift those cheekbones. And maybe a little collagen in those wrinkles. Maybe a lot of collagen in those wrinkles. A huge amount of collagen in those wrinkles. I'm now imagining a puffy elephant, completely inexpressive and unable to form any kind of expression, facial expression. Maybe an eyelid lift, a little tuck, some lipo. The Hollywood elephants, the stars of the show. Yep. I think you get the gist of it. There are not many specialist cosmetic surgery vets out here in the wild. I should hope, actually, there are not that many in the world. I'm trying to imagine now all the cosmetic surgery different animals would get done if they were as uncomfortable in their own skin as humans can be. Obviously, there's certain things that vets can fix and need to fix. Kirst says a marabou stork would get a chin tuck. I'm not sure that's the only thing a marabou stork would get. A makeover would probably be ideal as well. Maybe a bit of skin blemish treatment. Iron tracks coming south. Full credit to Kirsty for this one. We're going to send you over to the beloved sugar plum fairies of Bushwalk.
Oh goodness, the two of them together are trouble. But Jamie and Kirsty is, you can never really get away with anything out here, and so I'll just take it and pretend like it didn't happen and carry on with my day. But we're going to squash Sugar Plum Fairy and happiness and all those kind of things with arachnids eating more things. So we've got another spider that is on a fly kill this time, and you can see they are busy eating their way through. Now this is a fairly fresh kill in comparison to what we saw earlier. I mean, this one is still being kind of injected with venom and being moved around. It hasn't even been spun into the web yet. Now in terms of the type of spider, it looks like it's one of the orb families. It's got those kind of bandy legs and that big protruded, rounded sort of abdomen that the orbs get. So it looks like just a smallish orb web. And I think it's is it a fly? It looks fly-like. These things are so small. It's so tricky. Or is it an ant? What do you think, Sandre? Tricky. You guys, what do you think, Kirst? You're in FC. You've got a bigger screen than I do. Maybe an ant that it's got. They will sometimes kind of target them. But you do get orbs. Obviously, everyone out here always thinks of golden orb web spiders or garden orb webs. So Kirsty's even throwing out the name of the ant. So you can tell Kirsty has directed a few drives. So she's saying Polyrhynchus ants. That is inside the jaws of this said spider. And so we'll just listen to her, otherwise I'm going to be told off, and no one likes to be told off by Kirsty. But essentially, like I was saying, everyone always thinks of garden and golden orb webs out here, but there's actually quite a few different species that occur in this area, and this has definitely got that orb web kind of shape to it, especially the sort of back end area, that very big swollen, like I say, abdomen that they get. And you can see this spider is really kind of going to town on this ant. Poor ant is unsuspecting and has been nailed, and you can see how the spider has spun webs across those leaves, and it will probably feel quite safe in there. That's probably where the spider hides out when it's waiting for various insects to fall into the web. They often do spin themselves a little kind of home, if you want to call it that, and then they sit in it and wait, and then as something hits the web and the vibrations come through, they then burst out and go and grab it. And then often if they feel like there's something around, they'll go back to that to be able to feed. But very, very cool visuals. Like I say, I'm sorry if you are somebody that is scared of spiders, because this morning we have shoved them down your throats a little bit, unfortunately. There's been spiders all over the place, but it's part and parcel of being out on a walk at this time of the year, is that there are lots of them, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the big golden orb webs again. Lauren, what's my favourite spider? Tricky one. I like the garden orb webs. For me, I just really enjoy the web that they construct, that big extabulamentum that they often have in it, and then coupled with those banded legs and kind of big and bulky and coloured. So I like them. Jumping spiders, always a firm favourite, because I find them actually quite cute for a spider. They have these kind of big eyes on the front of their heads, and they often can have really beautiful colours in them if you just look closely. So Salticides, which is what the jumping spider family is, those for me are always very, very pleasant. I like spending time with them. So I think those two would be my kind of favourite sort of spiders that I would like to kind of see. The green lynx spider is a very beautiful spider. I like the crab spiders as well. So yeah, I think anything that's kind of softens the sort of look of them. Things like sack spiders and black widows and brown widows and those kind of things, and violins, I'm not a huge fan of at all. They are not colourful, look rather menacing, and can be a bit of a disaster to get hit by. So try and avoid those kind of as much as possible. But most spiders I find actually really, really beautiful little things, and I think that they're an incredible kind of part of our ecosystem. Anyway, it's that time. We're slowly kind of heading back towards home. It's been a really cool walk. We've walked so sort of short distance. I don't think we did 500 meters, but it's been lots this morning, lots of interesting things to discuss and go through, and everybody kind of got something that they enjoyed. So hopefully you all enjoyed it as well. But from Jamie, myself, Sydney, all the cam ops, Kirsty in Final Control, it's been an absolute pleasure having you along for the ride, and we'll see you all this afternoon for the Sunset Safari.